We are live. So, welcome to episode 152 of An American Werewolf in New Jersey. I am the American Werewolf. In the house tonight for the first stream of 2023. It only took us 10 days. We've got Zombilly B. He's wearing long sleeves, so you don't see all of his bite marks. So, yeah, okay, exactly. Yeah, he's doing just fine. Also covered in blankets, so we can't see your arms and all this kind of stuff. All the way over in the UK bunker down in their own mall. We've got Morgan Scorpion. Thank you for yes, thank you for. Oh, she showed a little arm there. Okay, so maybe she's all right. We've got the Gore-Aphobe covering up his knuckles there, so that's a little suspect. And if he starts, doing that kind of, yeah, exactly. If he's doing it already, we're gonna have to extend the stream a little bit to see who's going to be able to hang here. And as always, very good company. We've got Eric from Hey Internet, Eric here.
And it's short sleeve, so feel free to inspect whenever you want to.
Same here. Nothing up my sleeve. So there we go. Now, this is the first stream of 2023. So that's cool. The holidays are over, and it's time to get back to some fucking horror. And I thought we would start out with some slamming fucking horror.
Yes.
Zack Snyder is a director who elicits a strong response, one way or the other. There are some people who are not Snyder fans, and then there are people like me who are been pretty much following Snyder for a while now, at least as far back as this. I think I didn't see that movie Sucker Punch.
I really liked it.
Okay, I got to get around to it.
I don't know if you would, but okay. I really liked it.
Well, it's worth looking at.
Yeah.
You can turn the volume all the way down.
Well, I mean, here we are. I mean, I've been a fan. You got your Man of Steel here. A lot of people didn't like his DC stuff, but I loved it.
I did.
I got my BVS here, so that makes me happy, especially that Ultimate Edition. One of the rarest things I've ever seen in my life was a fan demand that he actually be allowed to go back in and finish his Justice League, which they actually allowed him to do. I found this for $10 at Walmart, 4K, very nice promo edition, 4 hours long. That I've never heard of anything like that, where the studio has just conceded to the fans' request and then gave Snyder $70 million to complete those reshoots. It's still not exactly what Snyder wanted, but I'm glad he did. It's kind of his swan song because it looks like he's never going to get back to DC again. We've got Watchmen, which I've been a fan of for a long time. We've got 300, which I'm a fan of. I'm a huge fan of 300.
Favorite Snyder movie.
Is it really? Yeah, it's really great, based on the Frank Miller graphic novel, and of course Watchmen, based on Alan Moore. And there's a funny story about Alan Moore and Snyder. We can get into that later, though. But what we're here to talk about tonight, though, is I think a universally loved Snyder film called Dawn of the Dead. So if you guys are ready to go, should we get it going?
Please.
Oh yeah.
Boogity. Okay, that's not what I meant to do.
Somehow that shit only comes off funny when you do it, man.
It's one of the, as always with, well, there are some things that are intentionally funny, and then some of the things in life I find that are funniest are the unintentionally funny things. And with me, yeah, you know, there's tons of that, and I do my best to roll with it, like we talked about in It's a Wonderful Life. Now, this movie comes, and we're talking about Dawn of the Dead, which is a serious fucking horror movie. And I literally watched it and walked in here and got everything going, and here we are. So I hadn't seen it probably in easily 5 years. So it was a treat to watch. This comes 2 years after 28 Days Later, which is another all-time classic zombie flick. Alex Garland, just put a hell of a film together there. 2 years later, we got this, and everyone here is old enough, and I mean that in the most positive sense, to remember that the early 2000s were clearly the era of the zombie apocalypse.
Yes.
I mean, zombie movies were just everywhere, and they were good, and even the ones that weren't hyper serious were still fun to watch. We had 28 Days, and then we had 28 Weeks, and then we had this, and then we had movies like Shaun of the Dead.
Yes, love that one.
Yeah, just fantastic kind of movies. Culminating.
George Romero just started doing his whole modern trilogy.
The Land of the Dead.
Yep.
We had, tons of those types of movies, and I've got Land of the Dead in there somewhere. But then also culminating in what is probably one of the finer seasons of television I've ever seen. This came out in 2010, and I've got the first couple. I think I've got the first 3 seasons on Blu-ray. I'm talking about The Walking Dead, and I've got.
It would never happen if it wasn't for Zack Snyder, baby.
Yeah, and I've got all those omnibus behind me somewhere. But I mean, it was just the era of zombies. And then, The Walking Dead just took it for the long ball. And I think they just finished the final 12th season or 12 seasons. So we had 12 seasons of zombies every Sunday.
Plus all their spinoffs too.
Oh yeah, and we were Fear of the Walking Dead, and we were watching. I mean, I can't. I know Bill, so I've known Bill for forever. But I mean, you guys. I assume every Sunday you guys were in front of the TV catching the new Walking Dead, because I know I was.
Yeah, me and the wife were, and then we caught the first season of Fear, and then we just didn't have the time to juggle both shows. But now there's also like 2 spinoffs from The Walking Dead that's going to be happening. Rick and Michonne are going to have their own show. And then I think Daryl's going to have his as well.
Yeah. It's. I don't know that we need more. I think the zombie apocalypse has kind of played itself out. But, there's probably a hardcore, maybe even small, maybe not small. Maybe there's a large hardcore following for that show. So, if you're going to see a Norman, and I always enjoy watching Norman Reedus, going back to the Boondock Saints, that kind of thing. So that'll
Blade
always
2.
be fun. Yeah, Blade 2, he's great in that. Bill, you look like you want to say
they just filmed some scenes from one of the upcoming spin-offs right down the street from where I am right now.
So you're saying there's zombies right outside your house?
Right off of, it's in a town called Middletown, which is a couple towns north of me, but there's like a section of Route 35 there where there's like an old mid-century modern motel, and then a rundown old farmer's market right next to it with an open field and some trees. And then everywhere else before it and after it is a Walmart, Target, all the normal stuff that you see on a highway. But there's this one section that's just beautiful, old school, just dilapidated stuff that an anachronism. We don't know why it's there. And they had the whole crew out there filming, backing up traffic for at least 3 weeks over the summer. So we kept driving by, hoping to see something.
Yeah, right. That'd be cool. And then one of my dreams, it was like a bucket list thing, and it didn't happen, was to somehow land a role as an extra on The Walking Dead. And if you remember, they would have those commercials where you could, like, it was something you had to do within like 5 seconds or something,
right?
And then you would be cast. Like, I always wanted to be a walker, unlike The Walking Dead,
That'd be fun.
unnamed. Oh yeah, it would be like like the fantastic experience, and just to go out there and lurch around for a while and do that kind of stuff. But unfortunately, whatever the question was, I never got to it in time or whatever, and so it didn't pan out. But
for free, yeah, do that shit for free. Do that for free, man. That'd be just playing.
Yep.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm not going for my SAG card. I mean, I'm just saying, hey man, did you see me lurching over there like this? So
God damn it.
I've done that a bunch of times, man. Asbury Park has the yearly zombie walk.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, do they really?
We broke the record one year, and then it was Chicago that took the record from us the next year. I think it was either Chicago or Detroit stole the record from us, but we had the record zombie walk.
Okay.
And I believe the year that we won, I was in a group. We were all survivors. We took the Walking Dead thing, put blankets on us with blood and guts, and carrying guns. We're just running through the crowd of all these zombies, like shooting them and sort of being rude.
That's cool. Well, it's New Jersey, so that goes without saying. Julia, just real quick before we get into the film, what was the reaction over there in the UK for 28 Days Later?
Oh. Well, I think people pretty much loved it. Okay. But you mustn't call them zombies, you see. They're infected with rage.
Oh, they're the infected. They're infected. That's right. Yes.
Of course, they're bloody zombies, but we're supposed to call them infected.
Okay. Because I mean,
really well, and the sequel went quite well, and I had a set visit
one, like
for the
28
sequel,
years
which
later.
was fun.
Wait, say that again. Say the last part again.
Aren't they making another one called 28 Years Later or something like that?
I know Danny Boyle's trying to get 28 months
it,
later.
But not in detail.
Yeah, it's something. But Julia, what was the last thing you were saying before?
I was saying that I had a set visit for the second one, the 28 weeks later.
Oh, cool.
Did you really?
And I had some wonderful photographs taken, me posing with the big guns, and they were on this little mobile phone that I had. And about 6 months after, I dropped the phone in a cup of soup.
Oh, no.
And I hadn't backed up the photographs.
Oh, that's awful.
That was awful. That's one of the biggest regrets of my life.
One of my favorite lines in all of film is from The Namesake. It's directed by Mira Nair, and it's a long story. But at the end, this guy is going out on these rocks with his son, and he's like, "Oh, we forgot the camera," and he just says, "Well, I guess we'll have to remember it."
Yeah.
And I love that line. I love that. That's just one of my favorite lines in all of film. We'll just have to remember it, So that's a great experience. That must have been awesome. That's cool. All right, so this film is based on Romero's screenplay. It is not the same thing as Romero's original film.
Right.
And it was actually, I'm sure you guys already know this, it was written by James Gunn.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So another prominent name in Hollywood today, and especially around the DC, you got Snyder and Gunn, and then you've got Gunn actually writing this screenplay. And he did a hell of a job.
Mm-hmm.
This is a great story. There's just enough characterization in all of these people here. That you give a shit for the most part. Especially the main people, Kenneth by Ving Rhames and Sarah Polley, and what is the Michael?
Jake Weber.
Jake Weber. He plays Michael. Yeah, okay. Mm-hmm. Just these guys. CJ, I love CJ. Michael Kelly as CJ, the security guard. Who just kind of starts as this monumental asshole.
Yep.
And by the end of the movie, you're just fucking rooting for him, because he's like this hayseed, but he knows guns and he knows how to fight, and, America's going to sort its shit out, and he comes out like this dumb fuck, at the beginning of the movie. Well, it comes out at a time where, things were, once again in America, very controversial around 2004. So it's like a middle America kind of Milwaukee. They're set up in Milwaukee of all places. It's not LA, it's not New York, it's not Chicago. It's the middle of America. And so, that was at a time where, you either loved America or you wanted, George Bush to go jump in a lake, this kind of thing. So he was clearly, he got the handlebar mustache and, gun-toting dude. And, these were just fun and great characters.
Yep.
And I think Bill was saying at the very beginning, I mean, it just starts right off. It starts right off where Sarah Polley is Anna, and she's a nurse in the hospital. And I mean, who wants to start? Go right ahead.
Well, I remember getting hyped for this movie because they showed the first 10 minutes on network TV. I think it was during the NFL playoffs or during the Super Bowl, maybe.
Did they really? Okay, I don't remember that.
And it's just the first 10 minutes of this movie is the greatest introduction to a film ever. It just blew me away, the way that they captured the chaos of what would be going on in the middle of a zombie apocalypse. From the second Sarah Polley's husband wakes up in the bed and sees the kid to the point where you start the credits, I was just riveted and in, and I was not going to buy into this movie in any way, shape, or form. The whole motto was, I just hope they don't fuck it up.
Right.
I didn't expect it to be as good as it was.
It's an ambitious thing because he's taking on coveted material. He's taking on coveted Romero material. And so, it's very easy to say, oh, Jesus, this guy's trying to, take something that maybe, he's going to have butterfingers with, or it's just out of his league. This guy should not be, who the hell is Zack Snyder in 2004?
Right.
That was his first feature film. But James Gunn was kind of known. I mean, people were saying, well, who is this cartoon writing motherfucker gonna, who is he to write this screenplay? And I think he proved every single person wrong.
Yeah, Gunn, he came from Lloyd Kaufman and Trauma, Toxic Avenger, that type of stuff. So that's what he was known for, the over-the-top, goofy, stupid shit. Exactly. And that's the one thing that it's tough, especially in the horror community, is when you take something as beloved as Dawn, and then you change it up, you change the characters. The only thing that's really the same is this is a bunch of people holed up in a mall. Everything else is pretty much different. And in my opinion, of I guess you say the original trilogy, Dawn isn't my favorite. I like Night, then Day, then Dawn. But I was still super excited to see this because when I saw the previews that these things are running, I said, I think that adds to the fear, in my opinion. And like Bill said, when this starts, it doesn't let up. You get that little bit in the very beginning. We get to meet Sarah Polley's character. She's a nurse. Her husband, the little bit of getting to know her and everything. But then once that neighbor girl walks in and she bites the husband. And then again, just the way it's shot down that darkened hallway, and you see a little bit of her face. And then when she's pushed away, and she literally just jumps up like a feral wolf child. You know what I mean? That you've seen in those movies before. And she just busts down the door. Sarah Polley takes one of the roughest looking stunts. That her stunt woman, when she falls into the fucking tub and cracks her head against the wall, I cringe every time. And what I love is
nicely too, man. It sets you up great because you see she stops along. She talks to this little girl. You can tell she knows her. She's a sweet, cute little girl. She's roller skating. Then the next time you see this little girl, she's eating her husband. You know what I mean? So it's like, it sets you up just to give you the fall, and I think it's fantastic, man. That's when I knew it was going to be kick-ass.
And what I loved is it doesn't stop. We have her in the background, that opening shot of where she's just standing in her lawn. You see all the chaos circling around her, and you got everything. People getting hit by cars and getting eaten, and then she crashes her car, and then boom, darkness, and then Johnny Cash, the man, comes around and starts playing to all the news footage. I'm like, okay, shit's on. Let's get going.
Yeah, the entire collapse of civilization is done in the first 10 minutes.
Yeah. That's a good Snyderism. That's the first
Yeah.
time I remember seeing his particular way of doing it, where there's all this exposition and setup that happens without dialogue, just a series of snippets, and you're there piecing it together like, oh, what's this world about?
Yeah.
And you're getting all that information in you without tedious writing. It's just brilliant the way he does it.
And with Snyder, you get these sort of heavy metal, very slick, but not overly slick, not overly produced. They're raw, and at the same, he manages to combine this raw yet slick kind of style, where everything just looks really good. It's hard to explain, but I mean, it's hard for me to articulate it. But you know, from seeing the movie and from watching other Snyder films, you know that's kind of what he's known for. I mean, if you look at 300. You know, it's just shot after shot after shot, and you're like, "Holy shit! This is just like stunning, like visually stunning to look at."
Yep.
You know, the spears and the animals, and and so it's the same thing here when you go from the neighborhood, and then there's that shot that pans up, and you can just see that everything is burning, like everywhere.
Yep.
You know, and yeah, exactly right. You know, done without any real dialogue. You know, the fact that someone tries to steal her car, yank her out of her car. You know, I thought later on, maybe 10 years later or so, they did that World War Z movie, which was okay on its own. It wasn't nearly as good as the book,
Right?
But
Are you sure he was trying to steal her car? I thought he just wanted to get in.
No, he said, get out. He was like, get out of your car. He's trying to pull her out of that driver's seat.
Right.
And, you know, that kind of thing. And, you know, I saw, you know, that World War Z had borrowed some of those ideas from Snyder's film, you know, that Brad Pitt sort of articulated, and especially when it happened in Philadelphia, when you see the first zombies and people are freaking out. I'm like, this reminds me of Dawn of the Dead. I mean, this is, you know, almost exactly the same thing. Really great stuff. Vivian's, you know, and not only is Vivian, the little girl, feral, with her lip has been chewed off, it looks like. And like her whole top lip is just gone, so it's just teeth and gums. And I'm getting these directly off IMDb, but they don't have any shots of Vivian. But I mean, she bites her husband's throat right out. I mean, that's the first couple seconds of the film, and to have a little kid, you know, do something like that. I mean, Snyder from the get-go, you know, is just really fucking going for it.
Well, we had that in Night of the Living Dead, though, didn't we?
Yeah, at the end. So that's a little bit of an homage.
Yeah, but wasn't that? I mean, when we had Night, I mean, it's not really that graphic,
right?
You know, this is, I mean, but the difference between 68 and 2004, and you know what you're seeing, like right in your face. Yeah, we had the girl, and that's no disrespect to Night of the Living Dead. I think it's the best of them all. It's the first one, and it still holds. We got to cover that at some point. It still holds up magnificently. But yeah, I mean, the gore factor, and especially if you're watching the director's cut, it has even more gore.
Yep.
You know, and he says it in the very beginning. You can watch his intro with him in it. And he's like, well, I added a little more characterization. There's a little more character, and there's a lot more gore. So, I mean, you know, just right off the bat, I mean, it's just, it's kill or be killed.
And it shows if Zack Snyder's willing to have a child character do this, and do this to a child character, all bets are off.
Yeah.
And we see that again later with the Mekhi Phifer character and what he has to deal with.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, and then I think Eric said, it goes to Johnny Cash.
And
you're just watching the riots in the street, and you're just watching like the
perfect song
act.
Yes, exactly.
I had never heard that song before, I don't think, at that time.
The Man Comes Around, that was his last album before he passed away. It's the one where Hurt was on, where we covered the 9 Inch Nails song.
Yeah, so I don't think I had heard that before. I'm like, holy shit, that's Johnny Cash. You know, so that lends authenticity to it, you know, as well. And there are just so many different factors that, you know, Snyder's piling in there, you know, and the movie hasn't even started yet.
Yep.
You know, and you're watching that news conference in front of the White House, and all of a sudden, like the fucking commandos just start firing, and you can't see what they're firing at. You know, and you're like, holy shit, you know, like it's all going to hell. And
yeah, he does a great job of distorting the camera a little bit. Yeah. So you can't see.
Yeah. It's really great. And then, you know, we come back to, you know, live action, and we get to Sarah Polley. And the next thing you know, Ving Rhames is standing over her. Mm-hmm. And I had no idea what the casting was of this film. I didn't see this in the theater. I saw it like as a rental.
Okay.
So 2004, you know, it might have been, was Netflix still mailing DVDs at that point? Probably. So it was either that or, you know, I had it on VHS or whatever. I can't remember exactly. But all of a sudden, I'm like, holy shit, that's Ving Rhames. I'm like, I had no idea he was in this. And, you know, he's just this big fucking enormous hulking cop pointing this shotgun in her face.
Yep.
You know, and I'm like, this is just fucking amazing.
Yeah, all of a sudden Marsalis Wallace is there pointing the shotgun at you. I saw this in the movies, and it was worth every penny of what was it, $7 to sit and watch it.
Yeah, I saw it twice. Like Mike saw, I posted on Twitter. Very rarely does a movie get me to see it twice in theaters, and I loved it so much the first time I saw it by myself. No, I took my brother the first time, and then me and my wife weren't married at the time, but we were dating, and she was never big into horror. I was kind of warming her up to that stuff, and I'm like, you gotta go with me to see this, and she had a blast too. She did.
Because it's fun. I mean,
yeah, this is one of our, like, if I said, let's watch a horror movie, and she's got, you know, a handful of go-tos. This is one of her go-tos. Yeah.
Okay. And the catch of this is that there's a lot of humor in it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's super serious, and then it'll just transition into something like really funny, and then, you know, like you're like on the edge of your seat, you know, and it just, the mood of it just moves back and forth.
Yeah.
You know, and it's seamless. It's seamless. It's fantastic. Hold on, we got a couple of comments here. We got My Chunky Jordy saying hi. So, hello, Jordy. What's up?
Hey.
And then we got the Ginger Ninja, JK, saying, hey, all. What's up, man? Thanks for stopping in. So, yeah, next thing you know, we've got, you know, Ving Rhames sticking an enormous shotgun in Sarah Polley's face.
If he isn't scary enough as it is, you give him a shotgun, right?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And then...
Especially zombie apocalypse.
Well, you know, to me, that was like a really good thing to see him, because I had never seen like a muscular kind of, I mean, I hate to use that term, but a muscular kind of defense in a zombie movie. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, oh shit, you know, these people are really going to be fighting, you know, because he has that physical presence. And I'm like, shit, okay, you know, it's on. You know, they've already got the shotguns out. You know, it's not people barricaded inside of a house, or, you know, like we had Return of the Living Dead from the 80s, where everybody just spent all the time screaming, you know, and panicking, and, you know, they got it locked in the meat freezer, you know, and, you know, that kind of stuff. I mean, they were going to get it going right from the beginning. And then they run into Mekhi Phifer.
Yep.
You know, and his wife, Luda, the character Luda. Michael, played by Jake Weber, who is just really great. What else has he been in?
To be honest, I don't remember seeing him in anything else. I know he's somewhere, but nothing that centered my my sphere.
His name really, I mean, his face just looks very familiar, but I can't think of a damn other thing that I've saw him in.
That is
but then, for some reason, everybody decides to go. We're going to the mall.
Well, it's right there.
Well, it's got everything you need, hasn't it?
It's barricaded, but if I remember correctly, I think Romero's initial idea about going to the mall was just like brain dead people at the mall, wasn't it?
Mike, you might have seen Jake Weber in U-571. He's in that.
I love U-571.
He plays Lieutenant Michael Hirsch, but he seems like he's a lot of one of those, hey, it's that guy type of actors, you know.
Okay, so hold on. We got Ginger Ninja said this is my all-time favorite horror zombie movie. Okay, yeah. Well, there's nothing wrong with that. It's
good choice.
Fucking a good pick. He's like, so far.
Yeah.
So far. Okay, fair enough. Leaving room for the future. He hasn't seen everything, maybe. Okay. Abomination AJ saying, "What up, people? Love this movie. What's happening, AJ? Thanks for stopping in." And the Ninja says that Jake Weber was also in Medium, which I didn't watch.
Oh, I haven't seen that one yet.
The whole mall thing was kind of a poke at consumerism and how people, you know what I mean, and to break down society and to basing their life on, at a familiar place where they can spend their money and, a familiar area where they can go spend their money and be consumers.
Yeah, the original Dawn was just chock full of social commentary. Every time you turned around, they're either talking about the cops, talking about Hicks, talking about consumerism. You've got the religious zombies in there. It's George Romero. I read the best quote about him. He's like, he's the last guy in the world to hang on to the idea that zombies mean something, because he just never stops with that.
Yeah, very political fellow he was.
I mean, the original, Night of the Living Dead was all just a thinly veiled comment on a communist revolution and what would happen and how society would actually react to that.
Yeah, that's one of my 3 favorite horror films of all time. Night of the Living Dead.
It's really fucking good. I mean, what's it been? 32 years. It's been over 50 years.
Yep.
Still fucking holds up. Going on 60 years now. It's still really fucking good. But you get all these people. They're running to the mall. They're trying to make it. They get to the mall, and who do they fucking run into? But the jackass security guards. These jack horses ass security guards run by the biggest jerk of them all, who, again, another character or another actor I had just seen for the first time, Michael Kelly. And Michael Kelly is one of those actors now. He's just like, I see him and I know something's going to be good. He was great in the HBO series Generation Kill.
Yep.
He was the captain. He was one of the captains, and a very competent Marine Corps captain. And if you haven't seen Generation Kill, it's simply about the ride from Kuwait to Baghdad that the Marines took. And it's not necessarily about it is about the war, but they're not like in Baghdad. They get to Baghdad and everyone sort of disappeared.
Okay.
They faded and they think that the war is over, but they're starting to get the idea that maybe it's not, and that's where it ends. He was also in House of Cards.
Yep.
He was the next to last person standing at the end of that series. He made it way past Kevin Spacey's time. He's been in a number of things, and he's always good, but this was my first time seeing him, and he was such a fucking jerk. Because, you're in the middle of the zombie apocalypse, and this guy just, like, now looking at it, I sort of see his point of view.
Oh, absolutely.
He's like, fuck, who the fuck are all these people just showing up? I don't know who's sick. I don't know who's healthy. This one guy's got a big-ass shotgun, Yeah,
but he's worried about people stealing things, you know what I mean? He's being completely petty.
You're right. Yeah, he wasn't the sharpest knife in the
at
drawer.
the beginning of the film that he's not taking this shit seriously at all.
No.
It's all about his ego and him being top dog, and he hasn't quite dawned on him that this could possibly be the end of the human race.
Oh, yeah, that's a great point. Like when he locks them all up, and then like Sarah Polley's basically got a beg to go to the bathroom or something like that.
Yeah.
They poke really good.
It just never occurs to him that he might actually need them to survive.
No.
Best line in that first altercation, though, when he's trying to get Ving Rhames to put the shotgun down, and he's like, "Hey, you can take it on to Quality Inn if you think it's still there, Shaq."
He's got some balls if he's going to call Ving Rhames Shaq. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, he's got a gun. He's got a what do you have, a 45 or something like? No, a 9mm. I think he had a 9mm. And,
all 3 of them had guns against his one. So
yeah. So he was feeling pretty good about himself. And I think you're right. Because I mean, we also get to see the great Tom Savini.
Yep.
He's
a Twitcher.
He's the sheriff. He's Sheriff Cahill. And so it's great to see Tom Savini. And, Michael Kelly, CJ's watching him. He's like, see, and they shoot him right in front of the TV crew. He's like, see, America always sorts its shit out. Yep. You know, that, and he's just got this, you know, real sort of smug, you know, we're going to take care of it kind of thing. And yeah, you're probably right, Julia. He, you know, he doesn't believe at all that this is the end of the world. It's just, you know, it's some temporary thing that, you know, eventually they'll get around to fixing.
Yep.
And then you've got the idea that Ving Rhames is going to meet his brother in Fort Pastor, and you're just like, and you can tell kind of right, like, that's not going to happen.
Right.
Right.
You know, I'm going to meet him there. And, you know, he, like Ving Rhames is, I feel bad. Like, I feel Ving Rhames has been criminally underused by Hollywood. He's a classically trained Juilliard fucking actor. You know, I mean, I guess Ving Rhames doesn't need any of us to feel sorry for him, but I mean, you know, he could probably be doing, you know, a lot more than some of the things he has, and he doesn't get a lot of roles that allow him to emote.
Right.
A great deal. You know, he just kind of yells, and he looks like he's ready to, you know, pull your head off. You know, this guy, huh?
It was good in ER.
Was he in ER?
Oh heck yeah! He played. He played the surgeon's brother. He was in there before Mekhi Phifer showed up, but that was a good role before he had the tough guy image, because he was kind of playing a sort of sensitive guy in that.
Okay, I haven't seen that.
I'm a big ER fan. What can I say? It's a pleasure.
I liked ER. I fell off after about 5 seasons because it went on. It was like Walking Dead. It went on for like 12 seasons, and by then I got tired of like every Thursday watching somebody die. Like, who's going to die today in a sad way? And I'm just like, I can't watch this anymore. Fuck, you know, because it's some baby or, you know, some dad or, you know, mom, and, you know, this kind of stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing this anymore. But okay, all right. So yeah, I mean, I just wish he had gotten some range, some roles with that allowed for a little more range regularly. Because when he says, I'm going to see my brother, you know, he's waiting for me there. You know, like, I was like, oh shit, you know, he was acting there for a second.
Yes.
You know, he wasn't like growling, you know, doing the usual growl that he does. You know,
he's got some hope in his voice.
Yeah, you know,
he does a lot of actual acting in this, actually.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
In many ways, he's a co-lead with Sarah Polley and the other guy.
There's a whole lot of talent there that not a lot of people had seen before this movie, and they're all working their asses off. I don't think anyone lunchboxed this thing at all.
No, it's a great example of an entire movie, like a film with like no A-list actors, but everybody's Ving Rhames is as close to an A-list actor as you get in this film, I think, and a big name. But everybody's doing their damnedest to just give you great character work.
Yep.
Like everybody, yeah, you're right. I think everybody's absolutely going for it, and you can see that it's working. Hold on, we got a comment here. Hold on, I want to. Oh, hold on. Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah, I think that's a spam one, buddy.
I got spammed. Yeah, I got spammed. Okay.
It's still interaction that helps the video. Who cares, right?
Yeah. No problem. Let's see. Then we meet Andy.
Oh, I love Andy.
I love Andy. I just thought that, now I don't remember. Was he in the original?
No.
Okay, yeah.
No, in the original there was just there was 3 guys and a girl, I believe. And they were the only ones there until Savini and his biker showed up.
It was the 2 news reporters and the 2 cops.
Now, I just thought that was a great touch. There's a guy across the parking lot who owns a gun shop.
Of course.
Because guess what you're going to need during the zombie apocalypse? You're going to need guns, and you're going to need ammo, and you're going to need a fortified position. And this guy's just got himself parked up on the roof. His door is he's got a steel door. It's just completely shut, you know, and he's just riding it out up on the roof there, you know, hanging out. And he's got this big ass whiteboard, you know, that, you know, he's sending messages across, and he sort of forms this buddy relationship with Ving Rhames and the rest of the people off there.
Then that's what you said earlier, the comedy, you know, the jokes. I love that whole relationship between Andy and Ving Rhames' character. You know, at first they're like, okay, we got a survivor over here. Well, now they're holed up for, I don't know, months maybe. And it goes to, hey, You take out the one that looks like Burt Reynolds, and he does. Take out the one that looks like Rosie O'Donnell.
Yeah.
And what
They look at all like Burt Reynolds, though.
But what I love is when Ving Rhames, holds up a sign that says like Burt Reynolds or whatever, and Andy, dead shot, this actor who we don't hear him say any words until like, I hate to say, his final scene. You know what I mean? After he takes out Burt Reynolds, he gives Ving Rhames this like, yeah, next look. You know what I mean? After he kills him, the body language on this actor is so good.
Oh, yeah.
It's good stuff. It's good stuff.
And it makes you love him like you love the other characters too.
Well, I mean, there's so much. I mean, because they end up overtaking CJ and the jackass, the other two jackasses, and the one guy turns out not to be a jackass, the one trainee.
And then the other trainee is like a total jackass that makes up for the other guy not being a jackass.
Yeah, ironically, his name is Bart. At a time when the Simpsons were still riding high, so he's just a jackass. And CJ's kind of a jackass, and then the other guys, the guy that they make fun of, who's actually got half of a brain. But I mean, there's a lot. There's the great shot. I mean, again, a classic Snyder shot of the building. Where they just keep shooting back. Hey, I'm alive. Help! SOS! Alive and they just keep backing up and hitting these different shots. Till you get the wide angle of everything. And I was just watching it for the first time for the purposes of this review. I'm like, this is fucking fantastic. This is fantastic. Snyder's hitting it out of the park here. Hold on, the Ninja says the DVD has some of the best special features with Andy's lost tape.
Yep, that's a fun one.
Okay, and the special report newsreel. Okay, I'll have to take a look at some of those. I was hoping I could have looked at, some of the behind the scenes, but I didn't have time. By the time I got home, unfortunately today, I lost the key to my fucking front door. I didn't realize it until I got to my front door. So, I lost a little bit of time getting around that, but, obviously I'm inside.
Yeah, the Andy's lost tape bonus feature. Go ahead.
Oh, we're still talking about Andy. It's
okay.
just that I found something out. The guy who played the general, if you remember the TV broadcast, you had Tom Savini, you had a general. That is Scott Leininger, or if I'm pronouncing that, Scott H. Leininger, who was in the original Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah, he was a blonde.
Yeah.
There are quite a few people listed in the credits.
Ken Foree.
Ken Foree is in it. He's the televangelist.
Yep.
He's the televangelist. So, I mean, there are actually quite a few people from the original, and they're listed in the credits as, hey, like there's a subheading in the credit listing, like from the original movie, and then they'll list the people that are in there. But I mean, I just love this shot that just keeps expanding out, until you're like, fuck, man, they're just, that's got to be fucking terrifying. But Erica's right. Another person, Ken Foree.
Yep.
When the what's the saying that he
when there's no more room in hell,
the dead will walk the earth.
And he gets to say the line again.
Yeah. And it's just fucking great. I mean, nowadays I only feel that when I turn on the news, but it's just for the purposes of the fucking film. He's just always great to see. Again, just enough characterization and small little things here and there, like the mall music.
Oh yeah,
the fucking mall music is hysterical. It starts out with "Don't worry, be happy."
Yep.
And then what have we got? We've got
in the elevator. He's like, "Oh, I like this song."
Yeah, I think it's Air Supply. I'm all out of love.
Yep.
For like CJ of all people, he's listening to All Out of Love. The Right Time of the Night. You've got, Debbie Boone, You Light Up My Life. There's like all this ironic fucking music going on in there, and it's just it's fucking great. This
movie's full of Easter eggs that you might not expect from a first-time director. The one that I liked was all the stores were fake names, and there's a lot of Easter eggs hidden in there. Like there's the obvious one, Hollow Ground Coffee. There's a woman's shop there that's named after the woman who played the news reporter in the original Dawn of the Dead, which I thought was pretty funny. And there was a telecom company. God, I can't remember now.
Alias Telecom, wasn't
there
it?
you go. Yeah,
I'm making note of those.
That was a good wink.
Yeah.
We've also got an appearance by the great and he was actually great in this. I'm not typically a fan of his, but he was really good in this. Dwight Frewer. I can never pronounce his name. Matt Frewer.
Matt Frewer himself.
Yes,
I'm a big fan of that guy.
Yeah.
I might be the only person on the planet who really liked his Sherlock Holmes.
Did he do a Sherlock?
I didn't even know. Man in the stand, wasn't he? Yeah.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was the trash can man in the stand. That was actually a really good role for him. I just love that guy.
Yeah, Matt's always great.
I'm not necessarily a fan of his, but he was really fucking good in this. And I thought, in terms of acting, this was one of the better acting performances in the film. He has a very small part because at this time, that truck shows up.
Yep.
And all those survivors like sort of have the same idea, and they're just trying to rush for the gate. You know, and so they end up letting all these people in, and Matt Frewer is one of them, and unfortunately he's been bitten. But this also leads to what I thought was one of the more gross scenes, which was the lady in the wheelbarrow, the unnamed lady in the wheelbarrow.
Yeah.
And
I think that's played by a man too.
Yeah, that's what I heard too.
It wouldn't have surprised me at all because, I mean, the makeup job on her is just spectacular.
Yep.
It's spectacular. And like the physical movements as she, you know, with her face and the, you know, the way it contorts, and you're just like, this is fucking foul. You know, just, and it's, you know, and then she just kind of dies, and then there's this holy shit moment where she just leaps up out of, because you know it's coming, and yet at the same time it's just fucking horrifying to see. And then Sarah Polley just puts a fucking fire poker right through her eye.
Yes, good job.
Wonderful. That was the best kill of the whole show, I think.
Yeah, and you know, like, you know me, I mean, body count is not something that I calculate into my, you know, analysis, you know, of a film or something. But here it's just,
it's one of those fist pumps. Yeah. Moments.
Yeah. You're like, yeah, this fucking works. No problem. Absolutely no problem. This is an exception, and I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, in a zombie movie, you gotta look for the best kills, even though you're not basing it on body count. Still, you got to go for what's the best kill. What's the most over the top one.
And so it's at that point that they figure out that, or Sarah Polley figures out that it's the bites. And this leads to one of the more one of the more serious scenes in the film, where they decide that they have to shoot Matt Frewer.
Yeah.
And it's genuinely sad. You're like, fuck, this is fucked up. Like, they just met the guy. You know, and he thinks he's safe.
He's there with his daughter,
there with his daughter. Yeah, he's there with his young daughter. And, you know, they're just starting to relax. You know, and, you know, he's got this sort of happy look on his face, you know, like, I survived and we survived. And no.
Yeah.
Not going to happen.
Well, it's the way Snyder filmed it. Is we have the camera right on Frewer's face, you know. So what was it? Sarah Polley was going to kill him, and then Ving Rhames took over. But you have that just shot on Frewer as he's slowly dying. It's got to be a good 10 seconds, maybe 15, and then we cut away, and then we just have the outside of the room, and you just hear the boom. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I'm glad they didn't show his death, but I sometimes spend my time when I was able to around the National Gallery, and I like looking at all the old medieval and Renaissance religious pictures. And to my mind, the expression on his face, the last we see him when he's died, he actually reminded me of a medieval saint. And I thought, you know, this is almost a religious experience.
Yeah, because his head is sort of turned upwards, and his eyes have that sort of crossed look that you see in those Renaissance paintings. I agree with you.
Old stuff,
Yeah, it really is something, and he's just like, you know, you want every single second.
Oh, yeah.
You know, he knows he's going to die. He knows he's going to turn into this awful thing, and yet he still wants to cling to life. And I just thought that was one of the best lines in the whole film because it's just in such contrast to everything else.
So
you
really
know,
just
you get this one moment of pathos, or one of the bigger moment throughout the whole film, and you're just like fuck. And even like Ving Rhames gets choked up, and watching him die, and then he has to pull out the shotgun and do what he has to do.
They decided to give him that last moment rather than go ahead and shoot him. They decided to give him those last few minutes, just to give him that, just out of life and his respect for him.
Yeah, that was, they gave him a dignified ending.
Yeah.
They let his life expire. Huh?
It's a good callback to the original where the cop is like, "Don't let me turn into one of those things."
Yeah.
And then you get that shot of his face as he sits up and the sheet falls off, and then they off him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they let him. They let him have his dignity.
Yeah.
Hold on a second. We got we got Sydney from Cinema City. She says, "Hey, I love this movie. Haven't seen it in years. I need to rewatch it. Can somebody? Can one of you guys check and see where if it's streaming anywhere?"
I'll look.
Amazon Prime UK. I don't know about Amazon Prime in the US, but Amazon Prime UK it is streaming. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So in the US, it's not streaming. Okay, so you have to have your own copy or rent it.
Yeah, not for
Could
free.
use one of those virtual proxy network thingies. I don't know what they're called, but VPN, one of those.
It seems like it'd be one of those things that would always be somewhere. But you're right. I mean, when I scroll through the typical channels, it isn't something that I don't see that. Like in the offerings, like rarely, if ever.
On occasion, I've seen it on Netflix streaming, but just not right at the moment.
I remember we had that same issue with Signs. We were going to do Signs a number of times, and it would drop off the streaming service. I'm like, fuck, it was just there like a week ago, And then I'm like, the new month would roll around, and it would just
you
go
can
away.
also get it on YouTube.
Oh, you to pay for it?
Yes.
Well, you can pay for it. There might be a pirated version. I don't know, but definitely there is a paid version available on YouTube.
Yeah, I mean, it's on Vudu, it's on Redbox, it's on Amazon, Apple TV. But all those are pay services.
Now, so right now it's not streaming anywhere for free.
Right.
That we're aware of, or any of the legit sites, the pay sites, these sorts of things, pay streaming services.
Well, like you said, you can find a DVD for like $5.
Yeah, I think I got this. I think I got this used for like $2 or $3 or something like that. And it works. I just watched it today, so
I definitely say just don't worry about renting it, buy it, because then you got the bonus features, and you can, because sometimes when you rent it, you take the chance of not getting the unrated director's cut.
That's true.
Yeah.
And you want the director's cut of this version.
Yeah, you do. And not to jump the track too much, but I still haven't gotten around to the director's cut of Dr. Sleep.
Gotta do that, my man.
Yeah, I got to get on that. So, I mean, from there, the movie sort of, it takes a weird fucking turn because you start listening to that version of Get Down with the Sickness.
Richard Cheese.
Which is, I'm like, holy shit, what am I remember the first time I saw that, I'm like, what the hell have they done here?
That's his career. He all of his music is, he takes, whether it's, Disturbed, Guns N' Roses, Madonna, Bruce Springsteen, and he turns them into lounge songs. He's made an entire career out of it, and he's fucking fun. I would love to see him in concert just to experience that. You know what I mean?
So
the studio was so against them putting that song in.
Wait, hold on, one at a time. Gore and then Bill.
So he's like the crooner version of Weird Al Yankovic.
Well, he doesn't parody them. He takes the actual songs. He just turns it into a lounge version, though.
That's what I'm saying. He's like the crooner. I don't know. Makes it his own, like Weird Al does. Yet he actually does the song.
And he's pretty crass with a lot of his like the writing on the inserts and like his album titles, like instead, because he does cover Like a Virgin by Madonna, but that album is called I'd Like a Virgin and stuff like that. So.
Jesus Christ!
Yeah, he's fun though.
So one of the other characters that I want to get into this guy a little bit because he was just funny. Fucking Steve.
Oh, fuck him! I hated him so much.
Steve again.
I just thought Steve was fucking great. I mean, he was a dick, but he was like this comedic, fucking goof, and he's just crass with everybody. And
he's like CJ without the redemption.
Yeah.
But I tell you, I did enjoy his death scene.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was fun. Come on.
Yeah.
Not him. Sorry, my mistake. I was thinking of somebody else. I was thinking of the other security guard. The one that
Bart.
got leapt on by the zombie in the ceiling.
Bart.
Bart,
There were certain characters that there were no redemption arc from.
Right.
And Bart was a pretty flat character. CJ, he had just enough in him to be a dick, but like at the same time, you see everybody when they're doing the sickness cover, everybody's coping in their own way.
Mm-hmm.
And some people are drinking, and Ving Rhames was like pumping iron. He found the sporting goods store, so he's pumping iron, and I think the one guy is like trying on women's shoes.
Yep.
This sort of thing. And what's Steve doing? He's banging the blonde like
and videotaping it too.
You're like, holy shit, who is this guy?
Mm-hmm.
Then he plays a dick. He was in Modern Family.
Modern Family.
Yep.
He's the one.
It's like a total opposite. He's playing against that character.
But he's the one who's always lusting after Sofia Vergara, isn't it? Like, he'd like secretly, isn't he? No. Oh, okay, all right. Because there's a YouTube like compilation of all the times where he's like thrown himself at her.
It's more like a Black Tripper thing. He accidentally winds up in compromising positions with Sofia Vergara.
Okay, because you get the impression that he's secretly in love with her, although obviously there's nothing he can do about it, and he's just fucking lost, because every time he gets around her, it's that way. But
she's got that effect.
Yeah, that's Sofia Vergara. So you're not gonna. So I mean, we get to the rooftop, the celebrity bullseye.
Mm-hmm.
Jay Leno. These are just great moments of comedy. Burt Reynolds, Rosie O'Donnell. That's Rosie.
Oh yeah, you just said it. Tell him to do Rosie O'Donnell. Oh yeah, Rosie. Like they're excited about it.
So you can tell, like they've been in there for a while, and they've kind of gotten used to each other. These sorts of things. And then, I mean, at this point, you're more than halfway through the film, and the shit starts to come apart. There's the trip down to the basement, where I can't remember exactly why they went into the basement.
To get the generator working.
Yep.
That's right. The power went out. So they go down to the generator, and that's where they find Chips the dog.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
Chips the dog, and I'm a huge fucking dog fan, and I know there are a lot of dog fans here. Who doesn't like old Chips the dog? You're like, all right, we need a dog in here too, no problem. And it's a cute little mongrel, this kind of sort of mutt thing going.
Yeah.
So but there goes Bart, and I'd gladly trade Chips for Bart. So that works out fine. I don't mind that Bart has been eaten alive at all. It has no impact on me whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, good riddance. Now we're heavy one dog. That works out fine. But then this also starts out with, and we haven't talked about this much, the Mekhi Phifer character.
Mm-hmm.
We've got Mekhi Phifer, and his name is Andre. Andre and his girlfriend Luda.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a problem.
Yep.
That's a bit of a problem because Luda is pregnant, and at first, I don't think Luda was actually bitten. I think that she just got scratched or something like that. And the very start of the film, when they enter the mall,
by the wishing well.
Yeah, there's some.
That would explain why her transformation was slower.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because if you see the scar, and you can see here, I've got no bite marks on me. That it's just like this, like little cut.
Mm-hmm.
it's like a little cut. So I don't know if she got raked by a fingernail or whatever. But yeah, I mean, she gets cut and now she's infected and she's pregnant and she's going to have a baby. And I thought that the birthing scene was one of the most probably the grossest thing in the movie.
It was
ballsy.
Very ballsy, yep.
Yeah, when you really think about it, I mean, Jesus. I mean, maybe these are the things that only a first-time director would think to do. Because you have nothing to lose. You have nothing to lose, and you've been handed probably millions of dollars.
I think that's where James Gunn and his trauma experience comes from, because there's no limits in trauma. No limits. So I think that's where that came from was him.
It's good. I mean, it's foul. I mean, he's got her tied down and he's got her gagged. The
use of the colors in that scene too.
Yeah, they've got this weird greenish sort of blue thing going because they've got her in like the baby section of this department store, and
Carousel.
And it's just and then the blood starts shooting out
and it's black blood if I remember correctly.
It's pretty awful to watch. And then who else comes in? Norma. And Norma was a character that I liked a great deal too. Because she was just this tough sort of old broad, gun toting, driving a truck, smoking cigarettes. This was back when people smoked cigarettes.
And
she just went in there and immediately, I thought it was great. She immediately drew that gun. I think she had that 350. She had a 357. So her first instinct was to draw that gun, and she put a bullet right in Luda's head. And of course, Andre shoots fucking Norma.
That's all the family has. He's just defending his family. By that time, he went completely crazy because he'd been dealing with secretly all this stuff.
And
well, he was living for that kid now, wasn't he? He pretty much said so earlier on.
Did.
That was his attempt at a redemption arc, and he wasn't going to let it go for anything.
Yeah, and this is where, I mean, because I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think. This was one of the more memorable instances in a zombie flick of someone hiding the bite or hiding the chains. Like, they didn't really do it in 28 days because what ended up happening to Brendan Gleeson, he disclosed right away, which is just an awful, awful thing to watch. But this might have started a new sort of, trope where, you hide the bite. We saw it a lot in The Walking Dead. And
they hid the bite. They hid the bite of the fact that the daughter had been bitten in Night of the Living Dead. So.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. I haven't seen that in so long. And we really should cover that soon because that's one of those ones that it's available like everywhere. I think it's on Tubi.
It was never copyrighted.
They talk about her being bitten. Sorry. They talk about her being bitten. However, they don't understand why. Remember, because the Dwayne Jones character, when they talk about her being bitten, he makes that remark. He says, geez, there's no telling what infection those things carry. So it's not that they hid it. It's just that they didn't realize at that point it was so early that could turn you into a zombie.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, it isn't until Matt Frewer, when they have that discussion, that he realizes, oh shit, and that's when he starts hiding her. No, we don't need a visit. Thanks, we're fine. We don't need anything. This sort of thing. And again, Mekhi Phifer is another actor who I generally like movies that he's in, but I don't see him very much.
Right.
I don't know if nowadays he's working behind the scenes. I mean, when you really think about it, we're coming up on almost 20 years with this film. Almost 20 years. It's 2023. Shit, where did the time go?
Yeah, exactly.
Fuck. And, shit.
Did you play Max Headroom too?
Yeah, he was Max Headroom.
Max Headroom back in the mid-'80s.
Yeah, that's what Julia was saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he had a couple of roles on Star Trek: The Next Generation. He was a recurring ensign on there. He was always in love with Deanna Troi. He had a crush on Deanna Troi throughout he had a couple of comedic sort of entries in there. So from there, everything just starts to go sideways, and they're like, we can't fucking stay here. We're just dying slower. Mm-hmm. And so they just come up with this idea. Well, one, they come up with the idea that they have to help Andy because Andy's out of food. Mm-hmm. And when I first saw this movie, that wasn't something that had occurred to me. Mm. You know, like he's been starving over there and just hasn't been saying anything to anybody. Right. You know, because you haven't heard any dialogue from him. And then all of a sudden he just hands up that sign and he just says hungry and his shirt is off and he's just like emaciated. Mm-hmm. Like he hasn't eaten in days, you know, and he's, you know, was a thin guy to begin with, you imagine, and he's just, you know, sort of melting away. So what do they decide to do? They send in fucking Chips the dog. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, holy shit, like this guy's going to let the dog get fucking ripped apart. The first time I saw it, I'm like, holy, like it had been 5 years and I just saw it again.
Well, the dog survived in the basement with a zombie without being eaten. So there's a suggestion there that
for some reason
zombies didn't pay attention to the dog.
No, that didn't lessen my anxiety when I first saw it. And I hadn't seen it in 5 years, so it didn't lessen my anxiety this evening for a couple of minutes. I'm like, fuck, I forgot they're going to send the dog over there. And it just all clicks. And the dog just fucking scamps right, you know, through the fucking, all the people, you know. And there's that great scene where they're lowering the dog and all the hands from all the, you know, the actors, you know, are just up there to catch the dog. And the dog just lets out like one bark. You know, that's it. It's just such a great fucking dog.
Dog's like, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah. And then, you know, Nicole goes fucking berserk about the dog and just steals the fucking truck and just goes over there and just starts plowing into fucking zombies. And, you know, she's going to
exactly what I would do.
I don't think anybody would blame you here.
Save the dog. Fuck the humans.
Fuck the humans, save the dog. You know, and she just launches a half-assed rescue operation, which actually, in its own way, kind of worked. I mean, kind of, sort of. Mm-hmm. Because what ends up happening is that when Chips gets in, one of the zombies grabs the fucking door flap. Yep. Like the doggy door. And rushes in there, and, you know, that's kind of it for Andy. And I had forgotten, because when she goes in there, I thought Andy got her. Mm-hmm. I hadn't remembered that, you know, she had actually managed to get away. Hold on a second. Matt Frewer was also in one of the early attempts to launch the X-Men movies in Generation X.
I remember that. It was a made-for-Fox TV movie. It was garbage. Like you think, you know, I like garbage, Mike. You know, with my movie taste every now and then, I didn't even like this one. It was really bad.
Who did he play?
He just played, I don't know if he was from the comics or not, but he played an X-Men villain who was trying to take the mutant genes and make like a super mutant or some stupid bullshit. You know what I mean? It's awful.
Okay. So they end up going over there. Now she goes to rescue Chips. Now they have to go over there to try to rescue her and Andy. And I remember that Andy hadn't made it. But then suddenly they're at the guns.
On the roof, when he's on the roof and they think he's writing something.
Oh yeah, with the whiteboard.
The card with the red smears of blood on it. That was just brilliant. That was one of the high spots of the movie.
Yeah, because like his movements are all frenetic, you know, and he's, you know, just kind of smearing all you could see. You know, he's not moving the same way, and you're just like, fuck, man.
That's another reason. That's another reason why I want to recommend the DVD. Ginger Ninja said it's one of the bonuses is like Andy's Last Days or whatever. They got the actor who played Andy back for that bonus feature, and it's like him talking to the camera, you know, by himself, holding up, trying to, you know, what he's doing day by day to keep the zombies out while they're getting ready for the rescue party.
I'll have to take a look at that. I'll have to take a look.
It's pretty neat.
But I mean, suddenly, again, you know, with this muscular approach that Snyder's taking, and with Gunn's script, they end up in the fucking gun shop because they're almost out of ammo. Next thing you know, who needs 357? Got it over here. Next thing you know, Ving Rhames loading up that shotgun again, tons of shells. They're grabbing like every pistol, that they can get their hands on, all the ammo. And I'm like, this is going to work out. The only thing that's missing is a minigun. CJ's grabbing all the propane tanks. They're grabbing flares.
Chainsaws.
Chainsaws. Yeah, it's just, the chainsaws are just fucking epic.
Yeah.
It's just, they're getting ready to go to war. That's all it is. I mean, it's almost as good as Schwarzenegger when he's loading up in Commando.
Yep.
And he puts the knife in and he's putting the grease paint on and the steel drums are going and you're like, fuck, this
tightens
is
the
amazing.
boot.
Yeah. He tightens the boot. He just pulls the strings real tight. Hold on a second. The Ninja says the special features are available on YouTube. Okay. If you don't have the YouTube, if you don't have the DVD. Okay. All right, so cool. All right, Andy's Last Days. No, wait. He says that it's not in the. Wait, hold on. He also said, wait. If you want the special features, get the DVD. At least in Australia, there were no special features on Blu-ray. Are they on Gore? Are they on there?
Yeah.
That's the American version now? Okay.
Yeah, the Scream Factory version. Yep.
All right, the Scream Factory version. Okay. And he says the blood is done very subtly. He's talking about the birth, the birthing scene. At the very start, it's red and running, but then as time progresses, it's black and chunky.
Yeah.
Okay, I wish I hadn't read that. All right, I could have lived without that. Thank you very much. So, I mean, next thing you know, Andy doesn't make it, but they get Nicole back.
Mm-hmm.
Ving Rhames steps up and says, sorry, brother. Couldn't save you. And just boom, he just lets him go. And that brings us to the bus scene, which is just, that is a fantastic Snyder shot. The mass scene. Look at that.
Yeah.
That is a Zack Snyder fucking shot right there. Mm-hmm. That is textbook Zack Snyder.
They had to weld plows onto the front of them just so they can get through the mass horde of zombies.
Yep. It's just fantastic. Fantastic scene. The mob scene. You got like we said, the chainsaws, the propane. And then, it starts to go sideways because in the lurching, the one guy, and I can't remember his name, and I can't remember it's the girl that Steve was screwing. He lurches with the chainsaw and just cleaves right into her shoulder with it. And you're like, fuck, man. And suddenly, one of them overturns. Steve runs away, which makes Julia happy because then he comes back very quickly and he's been turned and catches a bullet in the face.
Yep.
CJ, who, has slowly been, taking this really great arc the entire time, sacrifices himself.
Yeah. Good sacrifice. Yeah.
Yeah. Really? So the others can get away. It's fantastic.
I liked how Sarah Polly, when she killed Steve, because if you remember, he's like, if I ever turn into one of those fucking things, I give you permission to shoot me or something like that. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah. I didn't think that. Yeah. She's like, absolutely, not a problem.
And
she just tells him right to his face.
And CJ was just a self-fulfilling prophecy because the whole time he was saying, "You people are going to get me killed," and he winds up getting killed because.
Yeah, well.
And what was it like? His last words are like "fuck it" or something like that, right when he hits the flare.
It had to happen to me or something like that. Yeah, it's like one of those. It was almost like Dante. I'm not even supposed to be here today. It's not even supposed to be here today. It's one of those. So people just start getting wiped off the board fast. And then Andy, you find out about fucking Andy, and Andy it's Andy, right? No, Michael.
No, yeah, Andy's the gun shop owner.
Yeah, not Andy. It's Michael. And
Jake Weber.
You see that? Yeah, Jake Weber. He's been fucking bitten. And that's fucked up. That's fucked up. I didn't see that coming.
Me neither.
And I remember the first time I watched this, it had been so long since I had seen the original that I didn't remember that, there was necessarily any basis for comparison. And I don't think there is when it comes to the original and the Michael character, is there?
Well, you don't expect Michael to die, and you don't, Dwayne Jones, his character in the original, you don't expect him to die. He survives the night, and then he's killed by the rednecks because they think he's a zombie. So maybe that's the only comparison.
Right. But it's still kind of fucked up. You wanted him to make it. And he doesn't have one like when we watched The Walking Dead, there were a lot of deaths in there for characters that had been with you for a while. But you sort of knew right away. With this, I guess he's just gone so quickly.
Yeah.
Like he's just bit and then it's over with, and you're like, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah.
He just kind of, huh?
She basically lost 2 husbands in one movie. The Anna character did. She lost her husband at the very beginning. Then at the end, she lost her new husband.
Yeah, Michael.
Yes.
It's fucking tragic. Jerry says, "What's up, Gore-Aphobe?"
What's up, Jerry? How you doing, man? Thanks for coming.
Thanks for stopping in, Jerry. Appreciate it. Yeah, and so the plan is to take Steve's boat, and I love that Anna is so forward thinking as to double back in the crowd to grab the keys out of Steve's pocket.
Yeah.
Instead of just running for it.
No, they would have been fucked.
Everybody in here, for the most part, plays an equal part. Like there's no one character that is like the clear leader. It's kind of everybody just working together. And then there are some people who seem to do kind of less, like Bart, who just kind of gets wiped off the board.
Right.
Or the guy who's trying on women's shoes, this sort of thing. The blonde girl that Steve was, sleeping with. I don't even remember her name.
I don't think Steve does either.
Her name was given.
Steve never even knew it.
Yeah, Steve didn't care what her name was. So why should we?
Yeah, it's entirely So but I mean, all of the
she must
characters.
have been in love. I mean, it's not like he was giving her much benefits other than himself, was it?
I guess. Okay. What do you mean by that?
Well, once upon a time, before the zombie apocalypse, he was a big man with a lot of money and fast cars and a yacht. And now he's just some guy in a suit stuck in a mall with a load of other people.
Right. They're still hanging
still
on to
with
the
it.
idea. They're still hanging on to the idea that this thing's going to blow over and he'll still be a rich guy.
Maybe.
So wait,
Maybe.
wait now. Check. So okay, let me ask this: did they? I mean, they came in together on the truck, but were they together?
I don't think so.
No.
I don't think so. I think that they were just 2 people who just happened to get picked up on the truck. That was my impression. I don't know for certain. That was my take. I didn't see that anyone on that truck other than like Matt Frewer and his daughter had any real prior connection.
Yeah, they were all just people who sort of got stranded near Fort Pastor, and someone happened to have a box truck. And
I don't know why. I just assumed that she was his girlfriend. That's me.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying I didn't. That wasn't what I picked.
No,
up.
it could be that I just wasn't paying enough attention to it.
Yeah, well, she's kind of a forgettable character.
Mm-hmm.
They don't give her a lot. They don't give her a lot to do. She smiles and she laughs a couple of times, and that's generally about it. And then she has a sex scene. That's kind of it. But then Andy, Michael, just dies, and then they leave.
That shot again of him on the dock as they're just going away, as he waves goodbye. He's just standing there with like the gun to the ground. Then suddenly you hear the boom. It's again, Snyder does a great job of making you feel extra bad when this character you like is going to die.
And and that was the ironic thing about him, is that he was like a leader in the group. I mean, everybody was it was very, equal. But I mean, the idea that he was a guy who sold TVs at Best Buy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He
Relatable,
wasn't.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, he wasn't some strategist or some military Superman or something like that. He was just a guy who sold TVs at the fucking Best Buy. But he was smart. He was just a smart guy. I think and didn't lose his cool. For the most part. Now, I mean, in the director's cut, I don't know if you guys saw this. They actually showed the scene where he puts it under his chin. They show him put it under his chin, and then in the director's cut, you don't hear it go off. You don't see it. You just see Anna looking. You just see him put it under his chin, and then it switches over to Anna, and that's the end of it. Now that brings us to the final scene where they find Steve's camera. And Steve's camera, he has some girl getting naked on his boat, just like Julia said. He's a rich guy on a boat, and he's got a pretty girl, getting naked for him. But then it cuts into these other things that they're recording as they sort of make their way. And I don't know what you saw, but I watched the director's cut. They find another boat.
Yes.
And
the head in the ice bucket.
That was just you're like, holy shit.
Really? I thought it was a bit naff.
Wait, what?
Sorry, I thought it was a bit silly, a bit ineffectual.
Really?
It didn't work for me.
Oh, it grossed me out.
The head in the cooler?
It's cool.
In the beer cooler.
That's kind of a homage to the Italian spin-off of Night of the Living Dead. Because after the original, people who worked on that original film, one guy went off and made his version of the next sequel, which was Return of the Living Dead, the kids in the cemetery. And then another person went off to Italy and made another one. And that was a direct sequel to The Living Dead, and that was the Italian one, and there was a scene with the boat, and that's the one with the famous shark attacking a zombie. They're both
I think it's just called Zombie, right?
Fulci, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Yeah. Oh, that blew my mind when I saw that. I don't remember much of the rest of the film, but shark versus zombie, whoa.
But yeah, there was finding a zombie head in the refrigerator in that one, and that's I always thought it was just a nice little nod to all the different zombie movies.
Well, that brings us to Land Ho, as I put it in my notes.
Yeah.
And I think the first time I saw this, I cut it off when the credits started rolling.
Oh no!
So I missed it. Yeah, I missed it. I missed it. So they all land on this island. I think the boat breaks down, right?
Yeah, the motor dies and starts smoking.
The motor dies, and they just sort of coast to this island. And I don't know if it was where they wanted to go, or I think it's just kind of where they ended up. And they're overrun. And you never see what exactly happens to them, but you get the impression that they're all fucking dead.
Yeah.
They don't have enough ammo for all of them because it sounds like a whole football field full of motherfuckers coming. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And they got a couple of shotguns and some pistols.
They lost.
They're not able to make it to the Winchester.
No. Unfortunately not. And that's kind of how it ends. And then Zack Snyder brings out the punk rock tunes, and you break to the fucking credits. And it's a 2 hour. It's damn near a 2 hour movie.
Doesn't feel it.
No. There's a lot going on in this film at all times. Comedy, action, a little bit of drama. Great script. Not necessarily one full of well, there's some one-liners, but I mean, it's not, a whole script full of one-liners necessarily, but at least I thought.
I do have a favorite exchange near the beginning when gosh, I've forgotten the name of the heroine. When she's stitching up a man's arm, and CJ, what, are you a fucking doctor? And she says, no, I'm a fucking nurse.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I liked that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, this is as good as it gets. Hold on. So the ninja says that Michael's death was the literal gut punch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. Because what you had was, it wasn't like 28. Well, 28 days was this way. 28 weeks was the military. 28 weeks was the military. But these were just everyday people.
Yeah.
A nurse, a cop, an asshole who owned a rich asshole who owned a boat. Some mall security guards,
Best
guy
Buy,
who sold TVs at Best Buy.
Yeah.
They were just regular people caught in, the end of the world. Doing their best to hold out as long as they could. And it's a hell of a fucking flick. Hell of a flick. Probably, yeah. I would argue the original Night is better, simply for its place, and like the respect that it gets. But I don't know.
I prefer this. I prefer this over the original Dawn because
over the original Dawn, absolutely, yeah.
Because in this one, this is a little over 2 hours. The original Dawn is like maybe 2.5. With this, there's no downtime. There's no lag for me. I think Romero could have probably cut out a good half hour of his Dawn, and it would have been much tighter and much. Boring is the wrong word for his version, but I think he could have cut out a lot.
Is it slow?
Yeah. And I think the running zombies is a scarier version, and I liked the characters more. There were more characters. It was less goofy. When Tom Savini shows up with the pies and he's pie fighting the zombies and stuff like that, it didn't fit for me, but that's just my taste. I prefer this one over the original.
Gore,
it's a better movie. It's clearly a better made movie. It's a better intended movie. For whatever George Romero meant to do in 1977, it's so dated and it's of that era. And I love it because I saw it when I was 12 years old and I fell in love with it. But this film blew me away from top to bottom. It's clearly the better movie.
Gore over there is chewing his bottom lip off. Hold on. He wants to get in this. Go ahead.
No, hey, everybody's entitled to their own opinion. I love this one, don't get me wrong, but Night of the Living Dead and Dawn of the Dead are the two best zombie movies ever made.
Okay. All right. Julia, do you prefer this or the original?
I prefer this.
Okay.
Now, I did find the first time I watched the original, I was riveted. The second time, it dragged quite a bit and my attention kept drifting off to other things.
Depends on which movie you watch, too. There's 3 different cuts. There's one that's like an hour and 40 minutes. There's one that's like 2 hours. And then there's one that's like 2 hours.
The one that I watched seemed to have lasted a very long time. Felt more like 3 hours. I don't want to knock it because there was a lot that was very good about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it dragged in places. I've seen the remake when it came out. The first time it came out on DVD because I don't go out much, and the first time I was riveted. The second time I was riveted. The third time I was riveted. But after Andy's death, it kind of dragged a bit. I wasn't as interested in the last 20 minutes. So I know that you all clearly liked it. A number of things that didn't ring true. Firstly, they've got a fuck ton of guns, but they've got no clothes, no medical treatment, no food, no water, just guns and ammo, which seemed a bit naff. Also, the propane thing, one propane tank ignited that huge area? Come on. I just didn't buy it. And not only that, but all of the zombies around the two lorries, sorry, 2 vans, 2 buses, whatever, that didn't seem very convincing either. I just thought,
Well, that whole plan after the blackout, when they put the vans together, I thought the whole point of it was that they're just doing dumb stuff, and it was all about how people just make stupid decisions. So if you think about it, if they had stayed in the mall where there was food and there was water and there was protection and all that, eventually all the zombies would have rotted away and fallen apart. And they would have been safe, but instead they decide to make this big escape getaway. Where even CJ is like, "What are you're planning to drive through a city filled with zombies to go to this asshole's boat to go to an island that you don't even know is there?" You know.
Also, with that many people, you're limited on the resources that's in the mall too. So food's eventually going to run out.
Yeah.
So
if you're going to get a boat and sail away, the things you sort of need, obviously you'd need a supply of food and water and clothing and medical stuff if you could. But most of all, wouldn't you need farming tools, seeds? You know?
Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. It's a Zack Snyder. Wait, hold on.
That would be nice.
It's a Zack Snyder movie, not a Terrence Malick movie. So it's not a meditation on zombies, you know, with like a narrator over, and what you're going to get. Oh, and I mean this. And what you're going to get in a Zack Snyder movie, especially in the last 60, depending, because he did a 4-hour movie. He just did a 4-hour movie, and then before that he did a 3-hour movie. So you're going to get at a minimum at something like this a 30-minute testosterone dump. That's what Zack Snyder. His conclusions in all of his movies are these enormous testosterone dumps. You know, if you look at the Justice League,
the women.
Yeah, if you're looking at 300, if you're looking at anything from DC. Like Man of Steel, like the final hour of Man of Steel is this. It's an hour-long insane fucking fight where Zod comes down and those guys are just slamming the whole fucking planet. You know, the introduction of BVS is Bruce Wayne's perspective of what happened in the previous movie. You know, as he's watching his friends die inside the building that collapses. You know, and he just sees those Zod and Kal-El flying through the air, and he's like, "You motherfucker, I'm gonna get you one of these days." And then this entire thing, when you see the Snyder cut, where it all starts off with the death of Superman, and then this thing just appears because it knows that the Earth is unprotected, and it just starts this wild fight on the Amazon homeworld. With Snyder films, you're going to get it's going to be concluded with a huge Arnold Schwarzenegger level. I wish Arnold was around to be directed by Zack Snyder nowadays, because that would be a hell of Arnold in his prime. Well, yeah, but in his prime, Arnold in his prime, to have had a decent director.
He's still fitter than most people are in their prime.
Absolutely, but I think unfortunately, and this makes me very sad to say, young people nowadays who have no idea who Arnold Schwarzenegger is.
Right.
They like who? Like who is that?
Their Arnold Schwarzenegger is The Rock.
Yeah, exactly. He's like the C- Schwarzenegger. It's just a different era. It's just a different era nowadays, and I'm not sure that those sorts of movies could take off. But anyway, hold on a second. Hey, Patrick, what's going on? Love this movie way over the original. Sarah Polley has become a gifted director.
Okay.
Sydney says I would have absolutely stayed in the
Exactly, Cinema City. You got it.
Sydney, when we did Black Crab, and they did the volunteer mission with Noomi Rapace, she would have been like, she told me initially, she's like, I never would have gone on that mission. We just would have to have lost the war. I'm not going. Sorry, we lost. I'm not going. Hold on a second. Julia, did you watch Black Crab yet?
I haven't watched Black Crab yet. No.
Oh, you gotta watch. You've all got to get on Netflix and watch a Netflix. It was the best action movie, one of the best action movies of the year. Numi Rapace, Black Crab. It's a war film.
Okay.
Me too, but the mall would have run out of food sooner or later. Chunky Jordy, what's happening? Love this film and the OG. Night, everyone, and thanks for advertising. Stream. Gore, it's been good.
Yeah, good night.
I've been watching Sarah Polly since I was a kid. When it was on Avonlea.
Anne of Avonlea. My wife was a big fan of that when she was growing up, so she knew who Sarah Polly was before I even did watching this movie. So.
Okay. So because I was just saying, whatever happened to her, and apparently she's become a director. Okay. All right. So, is there anything that we have not discussed in this film?
Yes.
Okay.
The makeup. I just found out. I was Googling it because I thought I saw some similarities in the makeup between the girls' makeup at the beginning and the girls' makeup in The Mouth of Madness. But actually, it's not the same people. It's completely different people. But Heather Langenkamp was one of the makeup artists.
Yeah, she's married. She's married to a makeup effects artist. Yep.
Yeah. She was one of the makeup, and I was like, wow. You know? And I thought she was just an actress.
There you go. Very cool. Did you? Yes, we did. At the very beginning, that was on the stream, right? Where you talked about being on the 28 weeks later set.
Yes, that's right.
And you dropped your phone in
the
soup.
soup.
Okay.
Oh, I did love that visit, though. I had a wonderful time. It was freezing, by the way. Did you get to absolutely freezing? It was filmed in outdoors. The bit that I saw was filmed outdoors in the middle of winter. There's this fabulous special effect with an exploding head, and that didn't make it into the movie, which was
Did you get to meet Robert Carlyle or anybody?
No, I didn't. My friend Raymond Waring. You remember? There's a leisure centre in this complex where the military are all hiding out. And he's the leisure centre manager.
Okay.
So Raymond Waring, and he got his picture on the front cover of Fangoria for the infected makeup. And I was at the cast and crew premiere with him, waiting for his big transformation, and they fucking cut it.
Oh.
Not only did they cut it, they didn't tell him. They just let him find out on the night, which was
but
a bit of a bummer, really.
He still made the cover of Fangoria.
Oh yes.
So that's still an accomplishment.
It was absolutely wonderful.
I've been on the cover of Fangoria.
That's back when Fangoria was still good.
Yeah.
That was about near its dying days. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Now I'd like to
one other thing. I'm sorry. This might be a bit nitpicky, but the name of the mall was Crossroads.
Yes.
And I remember thinking near the beginning that Crossroads, that's a place where people pass through, not a place where people stay. I thought maybe that was significant. Maybe it's just, they had to call it something, so they might as well call it that. But
probably
go deep and say that each character met their crossroads at the mall and decided which direction they were going.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, this isn't Lawrence of Arabia. Who are you? Let's
come on.
Stop that.
Just because it's a horror movie doesn't mean you can't have some symbolism and some meaning and some depth to it.
It's somebody getting their lip bit off.
Yeah. In a very deep and meaningful way.
In a very yes. This is like that scene in Dragon where Bruce Lee talks about being a philosophy student. He's like, I can have deep thoughts on being unemployed. Okay, so this brings us to the point where we will rate and review the movie, and we have a scoring system, 0 to 5 here on this channel. Starting at 0, 0.5, 1, 1.5, all the way to 5. Now, 0, for example, being I'd rather eat a gallon of mayonnaise than watch this movie again. All the way up to 5, which is like, this is your opportunity then. This is your movie.
Mayonnaise too, but I can't eat a whole gallon of it.
A gallon of mayonnaise.
I can, but it
and
would
just
take
put a
me a
whole
few weeks.
jar, all the way up to 5, where you're like, okay, this is cinema. This is what I got into, watching movies for in the first place. Zombilly, Zombilly B, what do you got for me on Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead?
Somewhere between 4 and 4.5. Let's call it a 4.25. It's just an excellent genre flick.
I'm gonna push you into a corner a little bit on this and ask you to go to 4 or 4.5.
Oh, goodness gracious. So I'll give it a 4.5, considering how many times I've watched it. It's a wonder the DVD that I bought 15 years ago is still in one piece, because I've just spun it so many times. I love this flick, especially, like I said, the first 10 minutes is just a perfect sequence from beginning to end. It still gets me hyped up every time I've seen it. It's fantastic. I don't really have anything specific to say that it's not a 5, but it's a pure genre flick. It's there, like we said, there's not a heck of a lot of depth to it. There's a lot of cool stuff in it. Great cameos, great nods to the great zombie films. I just love it. I love this film. So 4.5.
All right. Morgan Scorpion, what do you got for us?
4.5. 4.5 because I really enjoyed it. I love the special effects. I loved the fast zombies. They were wonderful. I can't say I liked all of the characters, but I certainly engaged with them emotionally on some level, whether it was liking or disliking. I thought they were all brilliant actors. I liked the idea of being in a mall. I mean, just, helping yourself to all this stuff and not having to worry about getting done for shoplifting. So I like all of that. I've got a few, you've heard me, I've said some of the things that I didn't like about it.
Yes.
So that's why it's not getting a 5, but definitely 4.5.
Okay. Gore, what do you got for us?
4. Great cast, great screenplay, great directing, great special effects. Not quite the original, but one of the greatest remakes out there. Great horror film.
Fantastic. All right, sounds good. Eric, what you got for us?
I'm going to give it 4.5. Like I said in the beginning, if it made me spend my money in the movie theater twice to go see it, that's definitely something. Like Julie said, whether you liked or disliked the characters, you engaged with them. It's fun. This is a fun movie. Great use of comedy, but it's not, overkill. It's not cheesy. So much, like the soundtrack is great. The fact that, it's, when the man comes around, it's all about dying. Johnny Cash at the very beginning. Again, the first 10 minutes, like Bill keeps going to, everything about this movie from beginning to end is fun. And you don't go to a zombie movie necessarily looking for a lot of depth. You're looking for a good time, and that's what I got.
Okay. All right. That brings me to me, and I am going with 4.5. Now, here's the thing with me. And you guys all know this. You've been in the stream way too many times for this. By the time I get to 4. But I mean, that by the time I get to 4.5, I'm creeping into cinema. Because I said you've got spam content, then you've got entertainment, and then you've got cinema at the very top. This is right on the edge. This is upper level entertainment. I mean, like high level entertainment. You've got a first time director that from the minute, like we said a million times already in the past hour and 45 minutes, it never stops going for it. This movie stays right at the wall the entire time. Fantastic shots. Just enough characterization for the people that you actually give a shit about them. Again, I got to thank Danny Boyle from 2 years ago who brought us Fast Moving Zombies. Opened up a whole new thing. And then 2 years later, we get an Americanized version of, the zombie, apocalypse here with this. Great cast, humor, action. Like I said, the 30-minute Zack Snyder testosterone dump at the end. the fact that they don't make it. That 28 days later sort of resolves itself at the end. There's a couple people left, and the military has arrived. Even what they did with and this is a much later film, but what they did with Frank Darabont in The Mist. The military arrives. It's just, but I mean, it's also similar in the sense that with The Mist, it's what's happening to the people in the supermarket. Here, it's what's happening to the people in the mall. Fantastic screenplay by James Gunn.
Yep.
Like we've said before, those first 10 minutes are just like fucking it. That is Zack Snyder, and to this day, I mean, one of the things and last year, from 2004 to last year, being glued to the TV the Friday that the Snyder Cut dropped. I've been a fan for almost 18 years now. All the Watchmen, 300. All the other DC movies, this and one of the things I'm looking forward to most this year when it drops on Netflix, Rebel Moon. His sci-fi saga. That's going to be a fuck all of a show, man.
Have you seen his Army of the Dead on Netflix? I haven't seen that yet.
It's not the greatest thing.
Okay.
It's okay. It's fun. It's fun to watch. It's not the Snyder Cut.
Gotcha.
Or it's not this. But I'd give it 4.5.
Sweet.
4.5. Hold on a second. Patrick says 4.0. Okay. Great ratings. Jake Weber stole this film. Yeah, Jake Weber.
He was good.
All right. Bill, you got anything you need to plug?
I do have something to plug. January 28th, Atlantic City, New Jersey, at the Anchor Rock Club. I do believe my band Kill Bossa Nova, featuring Johnny Menzel and David Smeller. We're going to play a couple tunes at the Paul Glaser Memorial concert. So if you happen to be in Atlantic City and you remember who Paul Glaser is, you should show up at the Anchor Rock Club in Atlantic City, January 20th.
Let's message me about that. I'll be there.
Okay.
I'll be there. Sounds good. Julia, what's going on with the Morgan Scorpion channel? What you got coming at us? Have you just dropped anything? What's the deal?
Well, the last recording I put up was the Confession of Dr. Jekyll. I didn't want to do the whole of Jekyll and Hyde, so I just did the last chapter, which is Henry Jekyll's confession, which leaves a lot out. But I had fun doing it, and some people have liked it, so there you go. For this weekend, I've got a short story by an author called J. Brian Reed, whose website, Bolus, has lots of free fiction. I'm really impressed with him, and this will be the second story of his that I've recorded. And so hopefully I'll get some more recording done for other things during the week. So, yeah, there you go.
There you go. All right. Gore, what you got for us? What's coming up? Did you just drop anything? You're doing your For the Love of Horror?
Yeah, Mind and Night Watchers show, episode 3 of Horror for All, just debuted this morning. It's doing pretty well. I got a watch along of The Howling coming up. I've got a watch along of Friday the 13th Part 2 coming up, due to Friday the 13th coming up at 11 o'clock Friday. A show with Eric coming up at 9 o'clock, a couple hours before that. We're going to do something on the Friday the 13th franchise. Saturday, I do believe I'm going to do a watch along of the Evil Dead remake.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
And 100,000 other things that I'm not remembering right now because I couldn't find the fucking page I wrote it on.
Okay, boomer.
I'm doing so much shit, I gotta keep a catalog on it, man. I'm completely out of my head. I feel like pulling my hair like this. Like, that's what I got coming.
You gotta get like a bookmark, man, or something. Tuck the page or something. I don't know. They're all tucked.
I had it, but I went to write notes on this one and 10 other things, and I lost my page. So I was sitting here frantically looking for it, and I didn't find it.
All right. Well, you can do it. Yeah. All right. I'm gonna leave that one alone. All right, Eric. What do you got? What's coming up?
Well, it's Friday the 13th this Friday. As Gore said, I'm going to be on his channel. We're going to do something related to that franchise. We haven't figured it out yet. Me and Alex on Two Bitter Losers, we have our own Friday the 13th episode dropping this Friday around 5:15 Eastern. And then following week, I'm going to start the Underworld franchise for my channel. Mike has been trying to get me off my butt to watch those movies. I'm going to do that. And then podcast-wise for Two Bitter Losers, we're going to start doing more modern movies. You know what I mean? A lot of stuff is from the 80s and 90s. We're now trying to pick films from like the last 10 years that we haven't seen. And our first discussion on that is going to be on a movie called 5/25/77. And that came out last year, last year, 2022. And it's basically self-autobiographical about this director named Patrick Reed Johnson. He's probably made films no one's ever heard of or cared about, but it's all about him first seeing 2001: A Space Odyssey as a kid in the theaters and his love for making movies. And eventually he goes to Hollywood, he meets Steven Spielberg, and he becomes one of the first people to see Star Wars: A New Hope. That's why it's called 5/25/77, before it's released to the public. Wow. You know, before everything's done, and it's him trying to promote the movie. And you know, it's a good coming of age story. I do highly recommend it. So that'll be next week.
Nice, very cool.
That trailer did look good.
Yeah, I highly recommend it.
Yeah, that looked pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
For me, let's see. Tomorrow I will be in the stream at 1 p.m. with Sydney. From Cinema Cities, and we will be covering an interesting flick. And to be honest, I haven't seen it yet, but it was my idea, and I want to watch it, and it just dropped on HBO Max. The Menu.
There's so many people talking about how good that is.
With Ralph Fiennes and Anna Taylor-Joy. If I'm pronouncing her name correctly, and it is supposed to be I'll watch anything with Fiennes.
Mm-hmm.
I just think he's one of my all-time favorite actors. You know, I'd watch him play this fucking cup.
Yeah,
you know, I really would.
A total babe. Seriously.
That works too. That's fine. It's all good. But I remember watching him years ago when I had read The English Patient, because I had been introduced to Ondaatje in college. And I was like, this is just fucking phenomenal. And then when I watched him do, I think his first acting role was in, he played Lawrence of Arabia. He played T.E. Lawrence in a British televised version of what happened when they started dividing things up at the end of World War I. Mm-hmm. And it's basically about how Faisal and he got screwed over by the major powers and and all the treaties. And Faisal ends up, he doesn't get Damascus, which is the whole point of Lawrence of Arabia. Mm-hmm. He ends up getting a new country that they've invented called Iraq. And I've been watching him ever since then. So when I heard that he was in a horror movie, I was like, fuck yeah, I'm watching that. So tomorrow, I have to get up tomorrow morning and watch it. Mm-hmm. And then Sydney and I will be here tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern time to cover it. So I'm looking forward to that because Sydney's always very cool to discuss film with.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see, what else? I've got some other things coming up, but I'm going to keep it under the lid for now. Probably released in the next couple of days. But when that happens, I'll drop it here for everyone to see. My thanks to Zombilly B, to Morgan Scorpion, to the Gore-Aphobe, and to Eric from Hey
Pleasure.
Internet, Eric here, for coming on and discussing this fantastic film. We got to get around to Night, of the original Night.
Yes.
Sometime soon. I'd be happy to sit down and discuss that one because it's an important film.
And it's easy to find. It's public domain, so
we can do it all.
Yeah, you'll find it anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
All right. My thanks to everybody here. Thank you to everyone in the chat who stopped in and said hello. And I'll be here tomorrow at 1 p.m. If you're scrolling through YouTube, stop into the chat and say hello. All right, everybody. Thanks again, especially to Julia, because I know it's almost 3 o'clock in the morning there. So we're going to get it. Yeah. Good night, everybody.
Cheers.
I'm always awake at this time.